This video will change how you see the entire Mario series.
From the disturbing origins of classic Mario characters to unsettling games Mario used to be in, and even Mario's darkest secrets, like how he was the one who started his rivalry with Wario, Donkey Kong, or even his own brother Luigi.
Because I've uncovered definitive proof that supports all of this. Don't believe me? Well, I wouldn't either.
So let me prove it to you by first taking a closer look at Yoshi, as he may not be Mario's happy friend. Let's look at what really happens when Yoshi sticks out his tongue in Super Mario World, specifically what Mario does here. Is he simply using his hand to point out some sort of instruction to Yoshi? Well, I wouldn't be so sure, because Mario is actually smacking Yoshi in the head here. This was all confirmed in a 2017 interview with Shigefumi Hino, the designer of Yoshi. He stated that, "We did the animation with the idea that Mario is hitting Yoshi on the head and Yoshi's tongue sticks out in surprise. This completely changes the animation. I mean, just look at him abusing this animal while winding up for the punch and everything. And that's just the first example, but as we look at more of them, this video will only get more and more disturbing.
Like the 1-up mushrooms in Mario games, they have quite a dark origin to them as well.
I mean, really, are they supposed to be just normal mushrooms that, like, you would eat? That wouldn't make sense, because we've seen normal food in Mario games, and even mushrooms, and they look nothing like the mushroom power-ups. As these guys seem to be sentient with eyes on them, plus the fact that they move around on their own. So why don't we take a look at the actual origin for them? Because the only traces of this are from the Mario 64 manga that was released in 1996. And here we can see this rather creepy image in one of the panels. It shows a 1-up growing from a dead Mario body, meaning that 1-ups are actually grown from dead Marios. Which makes sense, because when you collect a 1-up, you're actually getting an extra life from another Mario that has previously died. Creepy.
But stepping away from Mario for a sec, let's take a look at some of Mario's enemies, like the Boos, the ghosts of the Mario series.
Because the origin of them is from something you'd probably never guess. Sure, they were clearly inspired by ghosts, right? But their behavior is linked to an odd incident. According to an interview with the creator of Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto, it had to do with another higher-up game designer called Takashi Tezuka. The story is that one day, Tezuka's wife got incredibly angry and exploded at him for all the time he had spent away from her at work. This sudden mood change was very odd to Miyamoto, as she was always a really shy and reserved woman, and this behavior was the direct inspiration for how he designed the Boos to function. As, when you look at a Boo, they are very shy and stay put, but as soon as you turn your back, their mood immediately changes and they come towards the player. And hey, if this has changed how you see certain things in the Mario universe, then subscribe to let me know. And if not, then just wait until we get through this next one.
Because enough about the Boos, let's look at Wario. Now, he has always been seen as the villain to Mario, but who is really the bad guy in this rivalry?
We always play the games from Mario's perspective, but what if I told you he's the one responsible for how Wario acted this whole time? Because if we go back and look at an old Nintendo Power comic called Mario vs. Wario, we can see that these two were actually good childhood friends in the past. But Mario used to always bully Wario when they played games. Mario would make Wario pick vegetables from his garden, but he would pick the turnips and made Wario pick the piranha plants. Then he would take Wario to dangerous areas that got him flattened by thwarts. But worst of all, Mario would always be the sheriff chasing the robber when they played cowboys. Plus, the one and only time Wario got to be a sheriff, Mario didn't take him seriously and laughed at his face. Jeez, I'd be pretty pissed if this was the kid I grew up with too. But you may think that this was all in the past and it's petty for Wario to still hold a grudge. But no. When Wario reaches out to see Mario again, Mario continues to bully Wario, which forces him to cry. And after that, he plays cowboys with Wario, and once again, he gets to be the sheriff that hunts Wario down. Maybe this was the last straw that caused Wario to constantly seek his revenge. And while all this is bad, it's not even close to all the terrible things that Mario has done to Donkey Kong and Luigi.
But before we look at that, we have to examine one of the bosses in Mario Sunshine.
Because this particular one here has a rather unexpected origin to it, as it comes from the horror novel The Shining by Stephen King. Now, at the end of the book, the main hotel setting that it takes place in gets destroyed. And as it is doing so, the book says this: "For a moment it assumed the shape of a huge, obscene manta, and then the wind seemed to catch it to tear it and shred it like old dark paper." Now, which boss does this remind you of? Well, it is exactly like the Phanta Manta boss in the first Serena Beach level. I mean, it's a huge paper-thin manta ray that you defeat by ripping it into smaller pieces essentially, which are these tinier mantas. And of course, what happens when you defeat it? Well, the hotel comes back and puts itself together, as if it was the destroyed hotel from The Shining. What a dark thing to reference in a Mario game.
Or what about even the iconic brick blocks in the Mario series? Well, they're hiding something beneath the surface too.
Because if we go back and look at the manual for the original Super Mario Bros. Game on NES, we can find their true origins. Here it says that the mushroom people were turned into mere stones and bricks. And what do you see throughout the entire game? Weird floating brick blocks. And what does Mario do with these blocks? Yeah, he breaks all of them into pieces. So Mario this whole time has been killing all the toads in the Mushroom Kingdom that have been turned into bricks. That's not even like an obscure or unusual thing that he does. It's, in fact, one of the defining things that Mario's known for. Damn.
And now we have to look at Mario's dark history with Donkey Kong, who was actually the first villain of the Mario series.
Yes, before they were friends, Donkey Kong actually kidnapped Mario's girlfriend on his first appearance in Donkey Kong for the arcade. It's a pretty simple story here though, right? This giant evil monkey steals Pauline, Mario's girlfriend, so you have to step up and take her back. So how could Mario possibly be the bad guy here? Well, there's actually a very obscure prequel to this game that gives a completely different context to this entire story. A game that Mario probably doesn't want you to know, as it puts him in a completely different light. And it's called Donkey Kong Circus for the Game & Watch. Here we can see that Mario uses Donkey Kong as a circus animal to be used for entertainment. He forces him to balance on this tiny barrel and has to juggle pineapples while avoiding dangerous fire. And if he misses a pineapple, what does Mario do? He points and laughs at Donkey Kong, embarrassing him in front of the crowd. So no wonder DK got so fed up with Mario that he lashed out and kidnapped Mario's girlfriend. That's a lot of trauma to go through.
But that's not all. There's something else that Mario did to Donkey Kong that adds to his villain arc too.
Mario's always been the hero in all the games though, right? Well, all except one single game where he was the villain. It's called Donkey Kong Jr., where you have to play as Donkey Kong Jr. and have to save your dad, Donkey Kong, from Mario as he locked him up in a cage. Apparently for the stuff DK did to Mario in the first game. But I mean, fine, I get it, Mario. DK stole your girlfriend. I'd be pissed too. So I can kinda see why you'd justify locking him up, kinda. But what I can't justify is something that's hidden in the artwork of this game. Because if you look at the official art, then you can see Mario holding a whip next to Donkey Kong in his cage. Whoa, now we're seeing a real different side to Mario. Like, putting him in a cage is one thing, but he has been torturing DK this whole time as well? And then after all these traumatic events, isn't it weird that they're now just friends all of a sudden? I can see past that fake smile, Donkey Kong. You're scared of this man.
Let's continue to look at some of Mario's oldest games, because there's a few of them that Nintendo wishes you'd forget.
Like Mario's Bombs Away, for example. Here Mario was a soldier in the Vietnam War. What? And you'd have to take a bomb to the other side without any of these enemies in the trees lighting the fuse, which would cause Mario to blow up. Jeez. And once you gave it to the other soldier, he'd throw it again to bomb the enemy. Yeah, now I can never see Mario being placed in this dark of a setting nowadays. There's even a soldier smoking a cigar at the bottom too. The 80s were certainly a different time, huh?
The Chain Chomps, a pretty simple enemy at first, right?
They're not the creepiest enemy in the Mario series, but certainly one more intimidating than your typical Goomba. But once you learn their true origins, levels, they may just become a lot more creepier. See, the inspiration for these enemies came from a traumatic experience that Shigeru Miyamoto had in the past. When he was a young boy, he was simply just walking by his neighbor's house, when suddenly the neighbor's dog ran out, chased Miyamoto, and tried to bite him with sharp teeth. Luckily, the dog had a chain attached to his collar which yanked him back before he could reach him. But the incident must have really stuck with Miyamoto as he turned this experience into the Chain Chomp enemy for others to relive his childhood trauma. Because Chain Chomps bark and lunge at the player just like the dog did, and of course they're always being held back by their chains too.
Now let's look at Mario Kart, because there's a certain scene that comes off as very disturbing.
In all the Mario Kart games, there have always been the award ceremonies for the top 3 racers of a circuit. But what's going on with the award ceremony in Mario Kart 64? Now, if you placed in the top 3 spots, then you'd probably think everything was pretty normal, because it is, from those racers' perspectives at least. But it gets pretty dark when you finish in 4th place. See, in other Mario Kart games, you simply just wouldn't appear in the victory screen if you finished in 4th, which makes sense, you didn't win, right? But here, there's a rather depressing cutscene that plays instead, as you'll see your character just watching on from the sidelines, sad that he was left out of the awards. And when he gets too depressed that he has to drive away, you know what happens? A ball bomb is sent after him which explodes your character. It's almost like they forced him to watch the others win, and when he decided to leave, the organizers of Mario Kart send this bomb to kill him for the loss. I thought Mario Kart was supposed to be for fun.
And now we come to quite possibly the saddest dark secret that Mario hides: his mistreatment of his own brother Luigi.
You know, Mario's always been the star of all these games, right? Is that simply because he is that much better than everyone else in the Mario universe? Or perhaps he makes it so only he gets the spotlight? Like, what about poor old Luigi, his bumbly, shy brother? Why does he never get the same attention as Mario? Well, it's because Mario wants all the fame and glory for himself. Don't believe me? Well then, let's take a look at a certain cutscene from Mario Power Tennis. In this scene, Luigi wins the 1st place trophy and is on center stage getting all the praise that he deserves from the crowd. But Mario doesn't like that Luigi is the new hero, so what does he do? He goes up on stage while sarcastically clapping for his brother, then smacks him pretty hard a few times, disguising it as a friendly pat on the back. And finally, he steps on his foot while rubbing down on it. Wow, what a two-faced, fake nice guy. This is his way of saying, Luigi, stay in your place. And worst of all, this is not only towards his brother, but it's Luigi. He's one of the most nice and caring characters in the Mario series. In the first Paper Mario game, we can even find Luigi's diary, which has pages and pages about how much he respects Mario, and wishes that he can go on all these adventures with him, saying it's unfair how Mario always goes without him. He constantly wants time in the spotlight, but Mario, his own brother, always shuts him down.
So throughout the many Mario games, you obviously kill a lot of creatures, and that for the most part makes sense, right?
I mean, Bowser captures Peach and has an army guarding her, so you obviously need to break through the army to get to her, right? But in the meantime, you ever notice how many creatures Mario randomly decides to kill along the way? I'm not talking about Bowser's minions, but like just some random squirrels that are flying around. Mario kills them and takes their acorns even. I mean, look at these creatures too from Mario Wonder. They're not trying to be hostile, they just want Mario to get away from them and leave him alone. Or worst of all is Wiggler. Like in any game, does he attack Mario ever? We always see him peacefully walking around until Mario jumps on him, which causes them to get mad. Rightfully so. But things only get worse from the 3D games. Like in Mario 64, he floods and invades his home, in which he then kills him. Or what about in Sunshine, where he sees one chilling up top just sleeping, so he points some mirrors at him, which causes him to disintegrate. Man, what a brutal way to go out. So what do you think of Mario now? Tell me in the comments, and I'll see you later.